Good morning. My name's Jason Tiedick, and I am a trainer of trainers. I actually help with people with presentations as well. And I just discovered that about half of you are into the presentation world. So you do a lot of presentations, and this is a very good class for you. This is called CRAM. And what CRAM is what I did is I took all the techniques that I have, and I said, if you teach a class that's anywhere between 1 and 4 hours, or if you teach any class for that matter, or you give a presentation, and I had to cram everything into 3 hours to teach this, or 4 hours to teach this. What are all the things that are the necessities? What are the essentials that you're going to need to be able to train or present anything? And that's what this class is. And it's interesting because I was talking to some folks on the way here, and some people said, Jason, I've taken the Foundations class and the Maverick class, and both those are 8 hours long, so I've had 16 hours of training, but I'd really love to come back to this class so that I can find out a quick review and really kind of get everything settled in for me and have a start for what I need to do. So that's great for you. And other people, this is the first time I've met you. This is the first time you've ever taken a module with me, and this will be fantastic because this is the place to start. This is the very first class that typically people take, especially if you want to get the quick notes on how to do it. So that's what this is. And what I'd like to do to get started is this. If you open up your companion, in the very first couple of pages, you'll see a table of contents, and then after that, you'll see a page called the program. And you'll see the very first sentence is, I'm going to teach you the absolute essentials in the quickest way possible on how to learn to train anything to anyone. That's what this class is. So that's why we call it CRAM. We're not going to cram it down your throats. What we did is we took all the information, and we said, what's the golden stuff that absolutely you have to teach anything? And that's what this is. So I'm excited about this. I think it'll be really fun. And I've taught this before, and it's been very, very effective. So you get the same thing. What we're going to do first, though, is find out what you want. So I'd like you to do is take 1 minute, and this is true to my form. I want to find out your goals. We're going to take 1 minute, and I'd like you to write down the 3 things that if you got these today, you'd feel like it was worth your while coming. Write those right on the program page. 1 minute. Now, what I'd like to do is this. Some people in here have never trained before. Some people have never presented before. Other people have been doing this for years. This is a really good class for both of you, and I'll tell you why. If you've never trained before, never presented before, this is going to give you all of the basic building blocks to do this. And if you've trained before and you're interested in helping other trainers, this might be the course that I recommend showing them. If you're a trainer of trainers, this might be a really good class for you to try to teach. So you could take this workbook and you could actually teach this class yourself. And that's what we're going to have you do today. So if you're a really advanced person in here, remember the stages of learning. The 5th stage is what, for those of you who know? Being able to teach other people stuff. Being able to teach how to teach can help you teach better. And those of you who have never taught before, this is the perfect spot for you. If I had any course or module that I'd recommend for you, it is in fact CRAM. So let's get started. You all know your goals. I want you to keep those in mind throughout the day. And what I want to do now is, true to form as well for me, is this. I want to start off, and this is what I recommend you do in your training, with a brainstorm and discuss, but this is going to be a little different than what we did in Foundations or Maverick. I want you to take a second. We're going to get you into groups of 4 here. Remember, this is something I said before. As soon as I say I want to get you into groups of 4, some people immediately get nervous. I don't want to get into groups. I don't do that. Well, remember, and this is something to write down, you should never put someone in groups or in partners unless there's a purpose. Never. Should never do that. So there's a significant purpose for me to do this. If I just asked you right now what makes a good presenter, which is, by the way, different than what we talked about in Foundations with what makes a good trainer. We're going to do both now, presenter and trainer. But if I said to you, what makes a good trainer or presenter? I bet you some of you would answer it, and I'd get a few responses. But I wouldn't get as many responses if I put you into a group and had you then tell me. Why is that? Did you notice I didn't get any responses just now? It's interesting, isn't it? Now, everybody's nervous. You haven't really met people before. And to go ahead and go out on the limb and say something in front of all these people, it's scary. The number one fear of any adult is what? In the learning process, the number one fear is looking foolish in front of peers. But if I put you into a group and you come up with a brainstorm And then I assign one of you the relayer to relay what the group came up with. Now who are you speaking on behalf of? Yourself or just a group that you may not have any particular partake in? It's the group, isn't it? So that's one powerful reason to put you into a group. But there's more. This group that you're with is going to be able to offer you ideas for what makes a good presenter that you won't have. And frankly, I won't have it either. So this is going to be a very effective thing. We're going to take 5 minutes, and I recommend, by the way, that you wear 2 hats. I always say this, the trainer hat and the trainee hat. You're all trainees. You're going to learn from me today. You're going to learn some very cool techniques on how to train people and how to present really, really good presentations. But at the same time, I want you to stop and analyze, at this very moment, why is this activity going to work, and how could you use this activity in your presentations? If you give an hour presentation, I recommend every time starting it off with a 5-minute brainstorm and discuss, give them a focus question, and that focus question is the very thing they want to know. You all want to know what makes a good trainer. You all want to know how to teach effectively. So let's find out from you what you think makes that good trainer. And then I'll teach that. You can do the same thing with any product or anything that you teach. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes, and I'd like you to work with 3 other people. One of the people needs to be the facilitator. You can explain these roles to your group as well. You're going to run the show. Timekeeper, you keep track of this time. You only get 5 minutes. The writer, you're going to write it down right in this companion, which will be very helpful for you guys to take notes on under group notes. And then the relayer, you're going to tell us what you came up with. 5 minutes. Groups of 4, please. Okay. Now, let's try this. I'm going to try something else here. I want you to imagine that I'm just beginning the class right now. We haven't started yet. So I stand up here and I say, hi, I'm Jason. I'm a trainer of trainers. I've been doing this for 20 years. I taught high school for 7, junior high for 3. I've been training trainers for about 10 now. And I've been training everybody, physicians, nurses, all sorts of different people for about 10 as well. I absolutely adore training. I love helping people understand things. I get very excited about helping get the light bulbs to go on. And I'm really pumped to be here with you. This class is an amazing class. It's called CRAM. It has everything you need in a short period of time to do anything you need to do to train. And I can't believe you're here to be with me today to teach this, because I'm really excited about it. Now, how did that compare to the first intro?
Much more positive.
It was more positive? What else?
Credibility.
I was more credible? Had more energy? See the difference? Doesn't it change the way you want to, whether you want to be here or not? It's amazing, isn't it? I wanted you to feel that. A lot of times, I just so you know, I'm going to train exactly how I suggest you train. I'm going to tell you everything you need to do, and I'm going to do it. I'm not just going to tell you what to do. I'm going to show you how to do it. And that's a really good example. I wanted to start off with this okay intro, and you guys say to yourselves, oh, I heard this guy was pretty good, but I'm not so sure. And other people in the room who've been here before, they're all excited, and you go, why are they so excited? Because he's not that good, if you ask me. And then I come up here and I give a really great intro, and you say, oh, okay, this is all right now, but I'm still on the fence. And just so you know, in the first 10 minutes, you're going to have 3 kinds of people. You're going to have the ones that are hooked, the ones that are on the fence, and the disbelievers. I got some disbelievers right now. I can tell. I've never met you before, and you've never met me. Why would you not be a disbeliever? I'd be a disbeliever if I was in your shoes. And I got some people who are on the fence like, oh, I don't know about this guy yet. But in about an hour, I'm hoping I got all of you. That's my goal. I'm going to hook you all. And we're going to start by this. What makes a good trainer? So tell me, what did you come up with? If you had to say to somebody who walks in this room right now, all right, I have to do a presentation, and I don't want to do it, but I have to. So if I'm going to do this well because my job depends on it, what do I need to do to be effective? Relayers, what did you come up with?
Expert at content and confidence.
So being an expert. By the way, you should write this down now. There's a place for you to take individual notes. Go ahead and do that. If you turn the page, you'll see that. They're an expert, and they have confidence. What else?
A good listener.
They're a good listener. Others? They're organized.
Know their audience.
They know their audience.
No nervous habits.
No nervousness. So that relates to confidence. No nervous habits. What else?
Uses humor.
Uses humor. I'm going to write down rapport there. Rapport is humor is actually part of rapport, but humor is a very important piece. We'll talk about that in a moment. Michael, you're going to say something?
Brings an energy level.
Brings an energy level. Michael, if you don't mind, I'm going to put you on the spot for a second. Michael's in administration. He's also a sailor. I just met him 3 minutes ago, and he and I had a nice discussion about sailing. Isn't it interesting that I know him already, and we just met him 3 minutes ago? How'd that happen? Michael, what happened there?
Well, we had a nice discussion about it.
We had a nice discussion. When did we have that?
We had that right as I walked in.
Right as he walked in. You should know that. That's the number one way to get to know them. As they walk in, talk with them. Some people will find this uncomfortable. It's okay. It's not whether you're comfortable, it's whether who's comfortable. The trainees are comfortable. So one thing I want to point out is, when it says confidence and nervousness, it's not necessarily that you are an amazingly confident person. A lot of people in the room say, Jason, I'm not confident. This isn't for me. No, it's still for you. It's not that you have to be confident, it's that you have to what? Show confidence. It's not that you have to not be nervous, it's that you have to show that you're not nervous. Or at least overcome it. Or at least not appear nervous. So just so you know, I'm always nervous when I start. People are really surprised when I say that. I'm just petrified before I go up here. But nobody knows. And I've come up with ways to handle that. What else did you come up with? What makes a good trainer presenter?
Explains the relevance.
Explains the relevance. This is the number one way adults learn. They have to know why. Some of you are sitting right now and you're skeptical. You don't know why you're here. You don't know why this will help you. Maybe that's the more pertinent to you. Why is this course going to help my life? This is what adults do. You have to prove to them within the first 20 minutes that you're going to teach them what they want to know, and there's a reason why they should learn it. That's huge. What else? Flexible. What's this mean, flexible? Because I can almost do the splits. I remember I said I'm not quite the performer, so I'm not going to do the splits for you right now, but I can almost do them, actually. Helps me sleep at night. But what do you mean by flexible?
Well, I mean the ability to think on your feet.
To think on your feet. What's she mean by...
Well, because as an instructor, sometimes you have to play it by ear how things go in class. You can't necessarily stay... there are certain things you need to cover.
Okay.
You can't necessarily be rigid and just say, okay, this is...
So play it by ear, be flexible, think on your feet, can't be rigid. What's that mean, though? I'll play it by ear. I'll think on my feet. What's that mean? You're focused on the people. So am I focused on you right now? How do I know I'm doing it right? Yeah.
It means you have to be aware of what's going on and able to think as not just read a script, but you're...
Aha! So how many of you have PowerPoint presentations where everything you're going to say is up there? That's not thinking on your feet. That's reading a script. Or how many of you have a script like this, and when you come up here, you read from it as you teach? That's not thinking on your feet. What these people are talking about is the 90-10 rule. The 90-10 rule says that 90% of your brain needs to be focused on who? The trainees or the content? The trainees. That's thinking on your feet. You can't think on your feet unless you handle 90-10. How you doing, Denise? Good to see you. You can't do that. By the way, a lot of people ask me, how do I know Denise's name? I don't have a seating chart. She just walked in. I met her yesterday. And the thing is people wonder, how do you learn names, Jason, so fast? Write this down. You write it out. You say it out loud 3 times, and you write it down to make it visual. So I got all your names here, and I'm going to write down the ones I missed later at break, and I'm going to quiz myself every chance I get. Because it's very important that I get to know you. You said get to know your audience. I'm going to do that by memorizing your names. So what did we say think on your feet means? It means have what rule down? So it's this thing called flexible. When I have trainers, you should know I also evaluate trainers. I watch them present. And I don't evaluate them and say, you're bad, you're good. I help them improve. This is what I do. I love to help other people shine. That's why I'm here for you. I'm going to help you shine. And the way I do that is I watch people train, I give them feedback, we spend an hour talking about it, and then we spend about 2 hours on any goals that they have, and we spend about 40 minutes on all the things they do well, and we talk about those things. I'm going to suggest you do this with yourself. If you don't have someone like me, you can still do this. You can record yourself. Listen. Find out what you do well. Figure out the things you need to work on. But get this 90-10 rule down, and to get it down, here's what you need to do. If you have a presentation that you do, and it's 2 hours long, you got 6 hours of prep. If you have a presentation that's 1 hour long, you got 3 hours of prep. 3 times in real time is what it takes to get to 90-10. What do I mean? I mean you got to stand up and teach it 3 times for as long as it takes. I don't just mean go to the car and read your lesson plan. That's not going to cut it. You actually have to get up and teach it and make yourself say the things you're going to say and do the things you're going to do so that when you finally get the audience in the room, 90% of your brain's focused on what? Them. And I'm going to teach you today what you should be focused on with that 90%. I'm going to tell you everything you can do in less than 4 hours to get your brain focused on these trainees to be flexible, think on your feet, move with the class, all that stuff. So that's called the 90-10. This is powerful. Write down 90% is on the trainees and 10% is on the content. One way I'm going to tell you can do this that's very, very cool is no matter whether you give a presentation or you do a training, everyone should have something to write on. Right now, many of you are being active with me. You're writing things down, your brain's moving, your neurons are firing. That's good. If I was to ask you, I'm going to give everybody a paycheck in here at the end of the day for how hard their brain worked. How many neurons fired is directly correlated with the money you get. Who's going to get paid more at the end of the day? Me? Or who should get paid more? Me, the presenter, or you, the presentees? You should get paid more. If you're getting paid more as the trainer, you got a problem. That's not good. And I'll ask a lot of trainers or presenters, I'll say, hey, how'd it go? And they'll say, really good, I went great. I was really on my game today, I nailed it. And of course, that person literally thought the time flew by when they presented. But the people in the room, when I ask them, how'd it go? They say, oh, so boring. Why? Because the neurons in the people in the room aren't firing. So if you say to me, well, why should I have to make a companion, Jason? Or why should I have to make handouts? And well, that's why. Because you want to get those neurons to fire. What else? What makes a good trainer besides these things?
Provide a roadmap for what they're going to cover.
Yeah, so there's a roadmap. Let's actually go to that roadmap now. If you look, you won't see this in your books, and you don't actually have to give this to them. But this is my roadmap right here. This is what I'm going to teach you today. In my opinion, if I had to cram everything down into the basic notes that anyone needs to train, this is it. These are all the things that I've done to research and find what trainers need and give you just the things you absolutely have to have. And the first one, notice the roadmap says, here's where we start, is hooking trainees. So this is the number one thing you need to do. Let's actually get started with that. How did I hook you? I asked you a focus question. What did we do with the focus question? We got you into groups and we brainstormed and discussed. This is what you can do. If you have even an hour presentation, I recommend starting it with a focus question. And what should the focus question be? The focus question should be about a task that allows the adult, this is on the next page, this is how adults learn best, when they know why they need to learn it. And notice the big one, they know it's of immediate value. You can write this with me. Adults learn best when they know why they need to learn it, and it is of immediate value. These are the top 2 reasons why adults learn well. And the only way you're going to hook them is if you satisfy these 2 things. Yes?
When you say adults, does this include young college age?
This includes young adults, yes. Anyone over the age of 13.
Okay.
So a lot of people in high school, I used to teach high school, that take these algebra classes right when they hit to 13. That's when they start to shift, and they have to know why. That's why I had people in algebra class when I first started. You should know, when I first started teaching, I didn't know this stuff. I didn't. I was not good at this. I was not good at this. I first started, the first class I ever taught was back in 1991. I had my own class. This is almost 20 years ago. And in 1991, I had a class of junior high school students, and this story is amazing because I was going to just be an aide and help other classrooms. And there's 3 rooms, 38 kids in each room. And all these kids flunked their math class the year before. And they're in summer school now. And there's 3 teachers. And I'm going to be the aide, going from room to room, helping them out. And I knew I was going to be in education. I was all excited. My dad was an elementary principal. I wanted to follow in his footsteps. I asked him questions all summer long about this. And I get there, and sure enough, the classrooms are just unwieldy. They can't handle 38 kids, let alone 38 kids that didn't pass any math classes and have a lot of special needs. So I went up to the principal and I said, hey, I tell you what, I'm going to be a teacher. And I want to start practicing now. So I tell you what, I'll take 6 kids from each room. Give me a class of 18. I can get it down to 32, which is what the research says is about the most you can have, unless you're going to go large classes. And I'll take 18 and I'll take them upstairs and I'll teach them for the summer. How's that sound? And the principal looks at me and he goes, Jason, I know your father. He and I are in administration together. I'm going to let you do this. So I go to the first classroom. I go in there and I say, I'll take 6 of your kids. Guess what they gave me? They gave me you can have him and her and him and her. See ya. And then I go to the next 2 classrooms. I did the same thing. So then I walk up there, and the principal comes with me. He stands up in front of the class, and he's one of the most credible people I've ever met. I mean, picture, Gladiator meets James Earl Jones, and this is him. And he stands up in front of the class, and he says, this is Mr. Tiedick. He's your teacher. And I want you to behave yourself, and you guys don't get 2 chances in this summer. You get 1. You've already had your first chance, and you blew it. This is your second chance. So you mess up, and you're out. Well, I thought, this would be great. I can just teach now. I don't have to worry about anything. I don't have to worry about credibility or rapport. I can just teach. And I can practice that stuff. So I stand up there, and within the first 2 minutes, a desk flies across the room. And that's how my summer went. And I went home every day and I asked my dad, what should I do? What should I do? And then as I started teaching more, I had mentor after mentor after mentor. And I was fortunate enough to have amazing mentors, people that were just unbelievable teachers. Then I went and had amazing professor mentors. And then I got into the business world and started training. And I had some really cool mentors there. And everything I learned, I'm going to tell you today. And that's how we're going to get started. And the first thing I learned was, once those kids hit 13, they had to know why they were there. And since they didn't know why, desks flew. And that's what will happen with you. It won't manifest itself necessarily with desks, but things will fly. And you got to handle this immediately. And that's the next part. This hook. How are we going to hook them? I'm going to suggest the hook needs 3 things. Here they are. The hook needs a story, or it needs a focus question, and it needs to relate to the tasks of the trainees. What are the tasks of you? You're all what in here? You're trainers, you're presenters. What are your tasks? Look up here. You got to be experts. You got to be good listeners. Be organized. Know your audience. Build rapport. Have good energy. Make it relevant. These are your tasks. Did my hook relate it to those tasks? Absolutely. Did I have a focus question? You bet. And did I have a story? The story was, you all have to train or present something, and you need to make it good. Let's find out what your peers think. So immediately, at the very least, I got you to do the activity. And that's the goal. But there's much more than this. You'll notice that these tasks are what you want to know. This is the difference between tasks and objectives. This is one of the fundamental things you need to know if you're going to present something. Because what do most trainers teach to? The tasks, which is what a trainee wants to be able to do in order to perform their role effectively, or do they teach to the objectives, what the trainer wants to teach them so they can perform those tasks? What do they usually teach to? The objectives. Trainees don't care about objectives. If I want to teach a physician how to use some software that would allow him to do his rounds effectively, then the way I'm going to grab that physician is by telling him, hey, you physicians, when you write progress notes, is this what you do? And they say, yep, I write progress notes every day. I'm going to teach you how to write a progress note today. And the physician will look at me and say, cool, that's what I do. But if I say to that same physician, I'm going to teach you what this button does up here on the screen. The physician will look at me and go, and throw a desk. I don't care about that button. Now, the button is going to help them get to the progress notes place. But that doesn't help them. The button is what? A task or an objective. If they can click the right button, is that a task or an objective? It's an objective. Being able to write a progress note, is that a task or an objective? It's a task. If I teach a bunch of algebra students and I say, this is the definition of a variable. These kids, I taught some algebra students that had really rough backgrounds, didn't even know why they were in school. And I stand up there. It's no wonder the desks flew. And I said, this is what X means. You think they're going to care? So the task for them is, this is how you have a good life. This is how you get into college, which will help you have a good life and get out of the life you're in. That's their task. You see, the task is what who wants to know. The trainees. And the objectives are what who needs to teach to get the task. I had to teach them variables. I couldn't get rid of that. But it fed, and it always lived under the umbrella of what? The tasks. Good. So that's the difference between tasks and objectives. So if you look on this next page, you need to elicit the tasks, or you can just give it to them. If you choose to elicit the tasks, which is what I did, you have 5 steps. Are you ready? First step. Before class, underline this, you need to research what it is that the trainees want to know. You must do this. What do they want to know? Number 2, you need, at the beginning of class, ask them a focus question. What was my focus question I asked you? What makes a good trainer? Number 3, you need to write down the responses so I can refer to these later. So I'm going to take this sticky and I'm going to put it over here. And by the way, I recommend, write this down, that you write your tasks on a sticky. Why? Why wouldn't I write them on the board over here? I'm going to erase that board, but this thing I need for the whole day. I'm going to refer back to these over and over again. Why would I refer back to your tasks? Are they of interest to you? You came up with them. You're interested, and this is what you guys think, and by the way, I agree with you, makes a good trainer. So if I, in fact, refer back to these and teach to them, you immediately say to yourselves, wow, he's teaching to what I want to know, not some variable that I'm not interested in. You can do this. And the method, by the way, is called brainstorm and discuss. Some people say, Jason, I don't have time to do a brainstorm and discuss, and frankly, I'm not into it. Then don't. Just tell them the tasks. I could have, if I wanted to, just gone up here and said, here's the task. This is what I'm going to teach. This is what all trainers do. Notice these tasks are very similar to what you have there. So let's talk about this some more. Number 4, as you get the responses, ask questions and make statements, underline this, that demonstrate your knowledge of their world and their role. This builds something called credibility. When you get did you notice that when you gave me these tasks, I just didn't stand up here and write them down? This is the number 1 mistake most new trainers make when I show them this. They just listen to stuff and they write it down. That's not okay. The whole point of this is that as they write, you now get to what? Teach, interact, discuss. You got an amazing spark that just happened. Why not take advantage of it? So that's what number 4 says. And when you get the spark, what you need to do is throw out what I call buzzwords. Write that down next to number 4. Buzzwords. Buzzwords make you look cool because they make you look like you know what you're talking about. And in fact, you do. So if you say something like, I want to be flexible, I can then say, hey, 90-10. And you say, oh, he must know what he's talking about. He's got a statistic. Right? Builds my credibility. You get 30 minutes to build credibility in a short class. That's how long you get. That's another thing you might want to write down. You get 30 minutes to build credibility. Number 5, reference the applicable tasks before each new topic. Here's the deal. If I hook you, and some of you who were disbelievers before, you're starting to be on the fence, aren't you? Some of you who are on the fence, you're now hooked. But just because I hook you for the class doesn't mean in 20 minutes you're going to stay hooked. I got to keep hooking you all the way around. And every time I reference a task that you want to know, I'm going to keep what? Hooking you. Good. Now let's talk about these training objectives. Turn the page and you'll see that there's 3 training objectives. Concepts, conventions, and algorithms. This is what they look like. This is the basic thing you need to know. Conventions answer the question what. Algorithms answer the question how. Write this in this box, by the way, down there. And concepts answer the question why. Now, I'll give you a quick thing to write next to each of these. Conventions, write down, are definitions. That's all they are. By the way, notice, you're an adult right now and you're saying, where is he going? Why do I want to know this? Feel that? I didn't hook it, did I? Let me try hooking this. That's what I recommend you do. These 3 things I'm about to show you are the building blocks behind every single piece of curriculum you could ever write for any training or presentation you ever give. There is nothing you teach other than conventions, concepts, and algorithms, period. If you know them well, you can teach them well. If you teach them well, you can relate them to the tasks, and if you relate them to the tasks, people will come back to your class again and again. How's that? Is that all right? All right, so conventions are definitions, algorithms are steps, write that down, and concepts are what I call light bulbs. They're things that are hard to understand. Which do most teachers and presenters focus on? Do they focus on definitions? Yeah, they do. They teach definitions all the time. Do they focus on how to do stuff? By the way, put a star next to that one because that's what everybody focuses on. And some people fail at their classes because it's all they focus on. All they do is say, all right, I'm going to teach you how to do this. Did you hear what I said? I'm going to teach you what? How to do this. I'm going to teach you how to throw a strike. I'm going to teach you how to sail this boat. You can't teach someone how to throw a strike or sail the boat unless they know why, not why they're doing it, but why something that you do works. You can't teach someone to add unless you know why the adding works. You can't teach someone anything unless they know why. So this means, make a note in the margin, that the first one of these you need to teach, the very first thing, is not the algorithm, it's not even the convention, it's the what? The concepts. Start with those. That's what you teach first. You teach people why you do something, the effect of doing it, the causal relationship behind it, the difference between different things, when you do it, who would do it, all those things. Write down 5 words for me. Concepts are not just why, they're also who does something, they're also when you do it, they're also where it's done, they're the effect of doing something. Those 5 things. Why, where, who, when, and effect. You must teach these first before you teach steps or how to do something. I spent years trying to get tutored by people, and this is partly why I'm so passionate, by the way, about education. I spent years trying to get tutored by people who would just simply teach me steps. And I couldn't understand it. And they look at me and say, why can't you understand this? I say, I don't know, I need a new teacher. And the teacher said, well, this is how I teach. And then they try to teach me again and again the same way, and it wouldn't work. And finally I got a teacher, I think this was in 3rd grade, that taught me why. And it was remarkable. I was getting A's in everything. And they were wondering, what happened to this kid? It wasn't the kid, it was the teacher. If somebody fails in your class, it's always your fault, never theirs. Unless they have absolutely no interest in being there. But again, whose fault is that? It's probably yours still, because you need to get them interested. Those kids that I taught in the summer, they had no interest in being there. It was my job to get them interested. So I always will say, it is because of the trainer if the student fails. It's because of the student if the student succeeds. Give them the credit when they succeed and figure out how you're going to handle it if they don't. That's a powerful message. Okay, let's summarize. By 10 to 30 minutes in, next box there, there's 4 things you must do. Let's see if you guys can tell me these. I've been talking a lot now. By 30 minutes in, it's 30 minutes in right now, what is the things that I needed to have done? What are the things I needed to have done to get started here? What's one thing? I have to build credibility. I have to show I know what I'm talking about. Write that down. Build credibility. This is the box right underneath the 3 types of objectives. Number 2, what's another thing I need to do within 30 minutes if I'm going to get rid of the disbelievers? I have to have a hook. Good. I have to hook them. And what does the hook need to capture? Why and the tasks. Good, I heard both of those. The hook needs to show them why they're doing it, and it does that through the tasks. What's the third thing I need to do? It's called building a relationship. What do we call that? Building a relationship? Rapport. I started to build rapport with each of you by welcoming you. Do that. Welcome your trainees. If you have a presentation, welcome your presentees. It's okay. You don't have to shake their hand, but you can at the very least say, "Hi, I'm Jason. What's your name?" "It's nice to meet you. Welcome to class." That's the most basic introduction I can give you. If you're interested in that, write that down. Anything you're interested in, just so you know, even if you're really captivated, sometimes people are so captivated, they're just like looking at me like this because I know they're captivated. But then I have to say, "Oh, write that down," because, "Oh, that's right, I'm taking notes. That's good that I'm taking notes." That's good that you do this. So here's the intro I'd give you. "Hi, I'm Jason. What's your name?" And then you literally say to them, "Welcome to da-da-da-da." That's it. "Hi, I'm Jason. What's your name?" "Hey, welcome to Cram. It's nice to have you." Go on to the next person, do the same thing. They appreciate this. Okay, the fourth thing that you need to do is this. You need to explain this thing. Let me talk about this for a second. This is called the course agenda or outline. Write that down. Explain the course agenda or outline. There are 25% of the people in your room, they're called research learners, that absolutely must have the big picture. They do not like to keep training unless they know where they're going. They have to have a map. This is my map. I don't care whether you train or present, I'm going to suggest you have a PowerPoint slide. And did you notice, I don't just have one of these. I've got about 24 of these, this exact slide in my show. And it just scrolls right between each one so you can see exactly where we are. It turns red for the topic we're going to cover next. So you can see we're about to cover credibility and rapport, and we just covered what? Hooking them. But here's the point. You'll notice if it says explain the course outline, that's what you should write there. I want you to write 3 things in the margin next to this. When you explain the course agenda, do not read it. Don't read it. They're adults. They can do that themselves. Don't patronize them. Instead, what you should do is 3 things. You should tell them why you're going to teach this agenda to them. You should tell them what it is in general and how you're going to pull it off. Tell them why, what, and how. Did you notice the order I told you those? Why? First, because adults need to know that. So I would start off by something like this. I want you guys to have amazing presentations. I want the people in your room to leave going, "Wow, that was absolutely incredible. I want to go back to that person. And I want to take that class again." What is this? This is a class that in 4 hours or less is going to show you everything you need to know to train. Anything. And how am I going to do it? I'm going to model everything I'm going to suggest that you do. And then I'm going to turn around and ask you to capture it so you can use it later. Notice I didn't read any of this, did I? You can read that. So don't read your PowerPoints. That doesn't help them. You should have your stuff memorized. You should put it in your lesson plan.